The bad news just doesn't stop for this administration. We now have top economic advisor Gary Cohn resigning. He is not some intern who would get coffee for Donald Trump. Gary Cohn is the head of the National Economic Council. This is the number one economic advisor to the President of the United States. Asked why Gary Cohn is resigning, the White House said, there's no one reason, but of course, even an 8-year-old could identify that Trump announces 25% tariff on steel, 10% tariff on aluminum, disastrous economically, and then immediately the top economic advisor resigns. Most likely not a coincidence, although of course correlation is not causation. And then we later found out from the New York Times that Gary Cohn had actually warned last week that if Trump goes through with these tariffs, he might be out. That might be him riding into the sunset. And I was laughing to myself when I read this. Trump was going to drain the swamp, right? Cohn is one of the swamp investment bankers that wasn't going to be part of the administration to begin with. Trump is finally draining the swamp by being so insufferable to work with that people he's hired are quitting. That's the only way in which it could be reasonably be argued that Donald Trump is doing any draining of the swamp. And the line from Trumpists on this, the cognitive dissonance is just stunning. The Trumpists are saying, listen, Gary Cohn was basically a Democrat, almost always for free trade. He just didn't really have a place in this great administration that's making America great again. But the bigger picture is that this is now a really long list of people who have left, people in serious roles with the Trump administration. National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, indicted. Chief Strategist Steve Bannon, propagandist, pushed out, presumably by Chief of Staff John Kelly. Chief Economic Advisor Gary Cohn is now resigning. Multiple communications directors, including Anthony Scaramucci, most recently Hope Hicks, the neo-Nazi connected Trump advisor Sebastian Gorka, Dr. Gorka, as Sean Hannity lovingly refers to him on his new job at Fox News. Deputy National Security Advisor K.T. McFarland, Rob Porter, we talked about in the last couple of weeks, Chief of Staff Reince Priebus, Press Secretary Sean Spicer, and these are just some of the big names. There are several dozen other smaller roles, and then, of course, hundreds of unfilled positions, which I've told you about before. The official turnover number right now for the Trump administration is 43%. 43% of this core group of positions under the purview of the Oval Office, under the purview of the president, have already turned over. And we are, March 14 months in, not even 14 months into this administration. Shrinking government, I guess, is how you would defend this. People are just going away. They don't want anything to do with the government. So Trump is operating under the pretense of smaller government. Still also a very long list of upcoming potential resignations. Jared Kushner, I don't know if it's going to be resignation or indictment or someone just saying it's time for you to get the hell out because you're only causing problems. We also have been hearing multiple reports that Michael Flynn's replacement, the new National Security Advisor, H.R. McMaster, is preparing to resign. We'll see. Rumors about Secretary of State Rex Tillerson's possible resignation still haven't gone away, even though clearly hasn't happened yet. And then even the elegant Chief of Staff, John Kelly's name keeps coming up. If we believe the reports, Kelly has been on the verge of, or sort of, he was on the other side of an ultimatum of resigning. And I don't remember exactly what the issues were that got Kelly basically in a position of, if you do this, I will have to go. I think maybe something related to Rob Porter, although now I'm not exactly remembering. The list of people who are arguably close to resignation is a pretty big list. I'm wondering, are the best people Trump was going to hire the people that are leaving, or the people that Trump will now have the opportunity to hire because of all the resignations that have taken place? I don't know. And I want to take a slightly different view on these resignations. I've not heard anybody make this comment before, mostly because I don't watch any TV shows or listen to any radio shows. So maybe people have made this comment and I've missed it. If you didn't resign after Trump said that there were very fine people on both sides of a neo-Nazi rally in Charlottesville, Virginia over the summer, your morality is questionable, your motivations are questionable, and your integrity is questionable. In other words, once Trump said that there are very fine neo-Nazis when there was a horrible show of violence in Charlottesville, Virginia, to hear that and say, I'm going to continue working for this man, that in and of itself is the red flag for me.
Yeah, Gary Cohn was actually thinking about resigning after the Charlottesville comments.
Oh, was he? I didn't know
But he
that.
didn't pull through with it. So I don't know if that's a good reflection on him or a bad reflection on him, because at
That's a
least
fair
he
point.
considered it.
Well, I guess if we're kind of ranking these guys, considering resigning is better than not considering it, but actually resigning is even better than that. I don't know. And so I think that he's a half step above some of these others, and that it occurred to him, maybe this isn't somebody that I want to be working for. And I assume Gary Cohn is Jewish from his last name. It seems particularly rancid to be working for a guy who is out there saying there are really very fine people amongst a group that certainly is not pro-Jewish. I don't even know what the word is that I would use. In terms of building an understanding of the Trump philosophy to the extent that it exists, this is kind of a sign of a purity test, right? And that's a common trait of authoritarian leaders. You only have people working for you who are completely and totally loyal to you in all ways, all the time. And as soon as there's a disagreement, and here it was Gary Cohn saying, I don't think these tariffs are a good idea, he's out. And meanwhile, Trump is insisting that things are just great at the White House, tweeting recently, the new fake news narrative is that there is chaos in the White House. Wrong. People will always come and go, and I want strong dialogue before making a final decision. I still have some people that I want to change, always seeking perfection. Hint, more resignation soon. There is no chaos, capital C chaos, only great energy, capital E for energy. It's sort of funny in a sad way that Trump thinks everybody wants to work with him, and yet almost half of his staff has left, 43% turnover rate, as I told you. I imagine the analogy I have is the little kid that nobody wants to play with, sitting in the sandbox, building moats to keep all the other kids out, who of course don't exist. None of the kids are trying to get into that sandbox. That's sort of what Trump is here.
Yeah, and soon there won't be chaos in the White House at this rate.
There won't be anybody left.
That's because nobody will be working there.
Yeah, it'll be just Trump and Ivan. I don't even know who will be
Maybe
left
not
at
even
this
Trump.
point. Maybe not even Trump himself. Yeah, it'll be an empty Oval Office. It'll be Mar-a-Lago, the Mar-a-Lagoization of the presidency. Send me your thoughts. Who's going to go next? That's actually what I'd love to hear from you. I'm on Twitter at @dpakman. Show is on Twitter at David Pakman Show. Boy, do we have a long-form piece for you coming up later today. Today's episode of the program is made possible in part by Brilliant, which is really a fantastic and unique online service that has sort of reinvented the way people learn math and science. If you watch the show, you're already probably generally curious about how the world works, and you like to learn new things. Maybe you have a sort of casual interest in physics or solar energy or AI, philosophy, computer science, but you're ready to take it to the next level. And whether you already have a grasp on these subjects or you want to engage and acquaint yourself with these topics for the first time, Brilliant is the place to go. You can actually learn hands-on by solving problems and puzzles that were designed by expert educators and professionals. And you can start right now. Sign up for free at brilliant.org/David Pakman. The first 200 people who visit brilliant.org/David Pakman will get 20% off an annual premium membership. That is brilliant.org/David Pakman.